All right, guys. So sorry about the brief pause there, but what we were saying about kind of Foles and Trubisky is that what do you like? I personally think that Foles is not a quarterback who can really move forward with your franchise. I don't think he's shown that he's been healthy enough.
Well, I don't think he's the type of quarterback that's going to put them over the top because I don't think they have enough pieces to surround him. But um, I mean, like I said, they're just trying to push Trubisky because he's shown over the first 3 years of his career that they're not fully convinced he could be the answer.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. But that being said, I do like the offensive weapons the Bears have with Allen Robinson, Tariq Cohen, and Foles. I think they have some nice pieces that are going to be useful to use.
I mean, if they wouldn't have had to have these quarterback problems if they just drafted Mahomes or Watson over.
Yeah, well, that was Ryan.
Like, come on, like if they had Watson or Mahomes with that defense for the next
Yeah,
dozen years, like they would have had no problems.
That's a great point. Yeah, I mean, but who didn't sleep on Patrick Mahomes? The only team that literally didn't sleep on him was the Chiefs.
Yeah, that's
They were
true.
the only ones who figured it out. I
Yep.
mean, it's kind of crazy how that stuff goes down.
Yeah,
Where
that's true. But like when Deshaun Watson's on the highest stage and beats Alabama, and you take Mitch Trubisky over him, like
yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you're gonna have to. The only way to figure that out is if you're a Bears fan and you read the Bears blogs and you know why this one scout took Trubisky over. You know, only they know why.
yeah,
They selected him. Only the fans can just speculate and question why did they do this? Why? And it's the whole hum song, right? I mean, every sport has, you know, why did they draft this player? This makes no sense. We had a top 5 pick and then we blew it. It's that same old, it's that same concept, just recycled and then picked up all over and over again in every single sport. I feel like every team, no matter what the sport, has probably had a situation where they've drafted someone with a top 10 pick and it makes no sense. I mean,
definitely right there.
So a couple of the other moves you want to talk about. What do you think about Bridgewater to Carolina?
I mean, they lost so many pieces in the offseason, I think. I mean, I don't I don't view him as a long-term answer. I think he's more of just a game manager who could if he has the surrounding pieces can succeed, but like with the Saints he had a great record, but with the Panthers, they're a depleted team. I don't really
Well,
see
they
much.
still got McCaffrey though. They got DJ Moore. They have a lot of players on the.
No, I know, but I don't really see them. They could be competitive, but I still think the Saints and Buccaneers are gonna be the force.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I definitely see the Saints and Buccaneers, but you got to figure the Panthers are a little bit improved with Bridgewater.
Yeah, except they lost a lot of guys on defense. That's the problem.
What do you think about that?
I think the Panthers have really I think they've had just a stressful offseason because didn't they have 2 players retire or something, and one went on Scott Van Pelt on ESPN to announce his retiring or whatever in the middle of February, and you just feel for these guys. I feel like their whole team is just coming apart. I mean that division is just going to be flipped upside down, in terms of who's going to be the competitors and who's not, right? I mean, so not that the Buccaneers weren't competitors last year with, Winston and Evans, but now with Brady, Evans, that team is going to be loaded, crazy loaded. And not that, Mike Evans is going to be probably in triple coverage, probably every single play. But I think the competitors have just completely done a total 180, and the Panthers are no longer competitors in that division, and the Buccaneers have just went from middle of the pack to top of the pack. Obviously, Drew Brees and the whole Saints team is a beast within itself, and they're still going to have a hard time trying to crack that. But think of all those great games you're going to have, on Sundays.
Oh, you got
Brees,
Ryan,
yeah,
Ryan Brees. You're going to be seeing at least over 4 times a year.
it's going to be amazing.
Oh, it's going to be. There's going to be more offense in that game than there is during college.
Yeah, it's going to be a shootout, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
37 games. The defenses might as well stay home, honestly. I'm being
yeah. And look, Matt Ryan, with all his, playoff unfortunate, scenarios that he's had to deal with, I mean, hopefully they come out of the dumps that they were in last year. I mean, Julio got his contract right. And, hopefully, Matt Ryan to Julio Jones is going to look like what it was in prior years. And it'll look, more run and gun and more fun to watch than it was last year for sure. So
the Falcons have I don't believe in their defense. That's like they're always in they obviously they could put up points and people think like Gurley could help, but like they still have like good I know they lost Hooper, but they still have Gurley, Ridley, Julio. But I still think their defense is still a weakness to a big weakness to really like put them into wild card contention.
I agree, but to Hayden's point, I mean, the defenses just might as well, not show up. I mean, it's going to be just run and gun craziness all over.
It's going to be hard for anyone to stop the Buccaneers with Chris Godwin, Mike Evans,
O.J. Howard,
Ronald Jones. Like Cameron Brate left, pretty sure.
No, Cameron Brate's on the team still.
Yeah, but it's going to be hard to stop them with that passing attack. They were a prolific offense with Winston on the field. I mean.
Yes, I mean Brady's not going to put them in harm's way like Winston did.
But that being said, they're still not a better team in my opinion than the Saints. I 100% do not believe that.
They don't have the
defense. They don't have Michael Thomas. They don't have Drew Brees. And at this point in their careers, 100% I would say Drew Brees is a better quarterback than Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Like what they can do statistically now, I'm not talking about career-wise, but Drew Brees' statistics were significantly better than Tom Brady's last year.
Yeah, well, that's also the weapons, like you said. Like, Brady doesn't have a Michael Thomas. His best receiver was a broken down, like, Julian Edelman's obviously a great slot receiver that has had a great connection with Brady over the years, but he was, like, banged up. He was hurt, like, the whole year. His second best weapon was, like, James White, a running back. He had no one to, like, stretch the field. Like, Breeze has, like, a Michael Thomas, Kamara.
Yep. And they also play in a dome, too. So they don't deal with any weather elements whatsoever there in New Orleans, and that is a huge pro to the Saints. I mean, I feel like that's their edge. That's literally what gives them their competitive edge and probably wins a bulk of their games is that they just feed off of playing in that dome, right? I mean, there's no weather elements to it, and the odds of, playing in the cold or playing in the rain, they don't have to deal with any of that. So I feel like I don't know if that keeps their players any more healthy, but it definitely helps the fact that they don't have to deal with any weather elements for half the season, at least, because half their games are at home. So
Patriots play in the cold in December at the rough stretch of the year. So
right, and yeah, exactly. So that's a huge plus for Brady going down to Tampa Bay is that he doesn't have to deal with the cold anymore. There's no more cold. He's going to be playing in prime conditions.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah. And he's probably going to feed off that. His numbers will probably be better in December this year than maybe in a long time because there's no weather elements to it unless there's rain.
I mean, everyone's saying that, like, they see it after last year, they saw a decline in Brady's game, but, like, look at the pieces that he had around him.
Well, he had no one. He had no one besides Julian Edelman. He had Harry, Julian Edelman, Philip Dorsett. He had no one. I mean, really no one.
Couldn't get on the same page with Dorsett, Jacoby Myers. They had, like, no tight end.
They had no
Edelman or bust.
Yeah, I agree with that.
We're going to move on a little bit from the Patriots. So we're going to talk a few about who the quarterbacks who haven't been signed yet. Jameis Winston and Cam Newton. Where would you guys think the best fits would be for them?
I think for Cam Newton, I wouldn't say the Patriots because I don't think from a working personality standpoint that like Cam fits with Belichick. Like just given his like big ego and his big personality, I don't think that's going to mesh with Belichick. I think he's just too much of a character like Cam. Like he's always been like a goofy kind of guy. But I think the Chargers is a good fit for Cam because I really think I think he's a better quarterback than Tyrod. And I still think, I mean, Cam, they have the pieces that Cam needs to around him.
I think for Cam Newton, I think the Dolphins would be the best fit for him. Great weather. You got a system that maybe has some players around him. They're getting the defense there. Blind Flores is a new coach. He's an exciting young coach who may be able to mold Cam Newton into the player he wants. I think that'd be a good fit for Cam Newton. Miami, he would instantly be the best quarterback in that division.
Yeah,
he would be head and shoulders above everyone else. I'm going to agree with I think Justin on this. I think LA is a good fit for Cam Newton. LA, he's got the big ego. I think that's a good fit for him in that town, and his ego will be able to, I think, fit in with that town well.
From a marketability standpoint, 100% you're right. Like Cam Newton would flourish in LA. I'm not agreeing with you on that.
So I think that's a win if you're the Chargers, and they have a new stadium coming in, and I think Cam Newton would sell tickets a lot, and that would definitely be a good fit for them. So I think Cam Newton to the Chargers is kind of a no-brainer. If you're the owner of the Chargers, sign that guy up.
I don't know. It's because they might draft Herbert, but like if Cam's on the market still, like late in free agency, I don't see like if the team like the Chargers who needs a quarterback, like why don't they take a gamble on Cam? Like he definitely has the most upside out of like Dalton, Winston, and whoever's left on the market.
Yeah, I think there's no risk involved in it. I think you sign up to a team-friendly deal, and there's a no-lose scenario, right?
Yeah, like a 1-year prove-it deal.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And then sign him to
coming off 2 like shoulder surgeries. Like the last time we saw him, he didn't look the same.
Right. Yeah, I think if you're the Chargers, you go out and sign that guy immediately, or you wait, see what you get in the draft, and then sign him to that team-friendly deal. But either way, you sign that guy.
Yeah, it's low risk, high reward. Like if you could get peak Cam Newton with the pieces that they have, and they like top to bottom, the Chargers have a good roster. Just they've always been lacking the quarterback that they need.
Yeah, I mean Phil Rivers. If you think about it, early in Phil Rivers' career, he had LT. He went to all those divisional round games, whether it was against the Patriots or the Jets, but they always cracked him, right? So, or the Ravens, when they had Ray Lewis and, their defense was in their prime years, but he never got through. And so
he never break through.
Yeah.
Great regular season numbers like Eli Manning, but Eli Manning has a playoffs resume over Rivers.
Right. I agree.
I'm going to give you Jameis Winston. I think here's a couple of destinations I think you should look at too when you're looking for Jameis Winston. I think Jameis Winston and the Tennessee Titans would be an interesting fit because what the Titans did last year was they had Ryan Tannehill and then they had Marcus Mariota. So that when Ryan Tannehill came in for Mariota when he wasn't playing well, it was an option that they could use. If Ryan Tannehill doesn't turn out to be the player they want him to be from last year and he gets hurt, if you have Jameis Winston waiting kind of to come in, you could have a lot worse options than Jameis Winston coming in for
backup. Yeah,
a lot worse.
100%.
I think that'd be a great. I think that'd be a great idea for the Tennessee Titans when you have AJ Brown, Derrick Henry giving him the ball. Yeah. I think that'd be a perfect. I think that'd be a good destination too.
Yeah,
I think another destination to consider would be Indianapolis.
What about the Jaguars?
Jaguars, yeah, that could work too. I think the AFC South has 3 teams that Jameis Winston could potentially flourish with. With the Indianapolis Colts, let's say Phillip Rivers is on the decline, or maybe he doesn't have the tail end of his career that he wants to. You have Jameis Winston right in the rear. Jameis Winston's still young too. It's not like Jameis Winston's old.
No, he's like 25 or something.
He's 25. He's not an old guy. So those are a couple of the options I think would be very good for Jameis Winston. I think if he either went to Tennessee, Indianapolis, or Jacksonville, I think one of those 3 teams in the AFC South would be a great option for him to play. I mean, for him to immediately play, I think if he wants to immediately play, I would say if he wants to immediately play the Patriots, maybe, but I don't think the Patriots are going to handle his interception problems.
No, Bill's not going to tolerate his picks. He's going to yank him.
No.
He would yank him right away, probably.
Yeah, I don't think Jameis Winston, New England's an ideal fit at all. I think the AFC South, it's not that far. He's not really going anywhere. He's going to northern Florida, or he's going, somewhere else within the division. Which
and you think about it. You have the Colts, the Titans, and the
Texans,
Jaguars. A lot of those teams are not warm weather. They're either playing in relatively warm weather or in a dome. So it would be enticing for them to go there.
Right. I agree.
I could see Winston to the Broncos too.
Nah, I don't think the Broncos are going to do that. The Broncos have had too much inconsistency at the quarterback position with Paxton Lynch, Trevor Siemian. They tried those short-term options. I don't think it's going to work. I think they're either going to commit to Drew Lock long-term, or they're going to draft another quarterback.
I think they're convinced Drew Lock's the answer.
Drew Lock didn't do anything great. He won some games, but he didn't do enough to really prove. Next year's a prove-it year for Drew Lock.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, they got Melvin Gordon. Sutton's good. Fant is young.
Yeah, no, they got Melvin Gordon too. They got Cortland Sutton.
Yeah.
So they also got Philip Lindsay too. So they have some pieces.
Lindsay, yeah, too.
And they have a good defense as well.
Mhm.
All right, so we talked a little bit about free agency and where we think some of the quarterbacks are going to go. Tom Brady to the Buccaneers obviously was a big move, but one of the things I think we're going to get into now is what do you think the MLB is going to do with their season? They have right now the MLB, it only took them until a quarantine to realize that 162 games is beyond ridiculous, okay? I can't even sit through – I'm sorry. I could not sit through a 9-inning game with just watching – I can't sit through a –
For the Yankees?
Oh, I can't do it. You're telling me game 4 of 162. Oh, boy, let's go watch game 4 of 162 games. That's so significant. Versus a football game that's on a Thursday night or like when are you kidding me? Are you kidding me with that? I mean, come on. How do they expect to compete with the NBA playoffs, the NHL, when they have so many games? I don't see the importance of it. Why can't they just go to 82 games or 100 games? At least make
I think 100 games is best at this point with all the uncertainty surrounding the virus. I think 100's your best bet at this.
100's your best bet, and then what you could do is for the playoffs. I'll talk, Mark, you can chime in this a little bit. But we're going to have maybe the playoff games. They could be played at neutral sites like Petco Park, Florida, Oakland. If you don't want to have games in cold weather during December and November, you could do that.
Yeah,
that would be fascinating. But at the end of the day, like, I don't know. Like, that's not baseball, you know? Like, it's not, you know, the NCAA football. It's not bowl season. I don't know how well that would work for Major League Baseball.
Yeah, because you want, like, your own teams and their own rooting for their own teams. Like, if then you would have, like, people in Petco Park who are not, like, teams of the teams that are in the playoffs.
The only way it would work, Hayden, is if you had a handful of games in, let's say, Miami, right? And the Yankees were in the postseason, and somehow the Mets got in the postseason. That would be a moneymaker because think of all the transplanted New Yorkers that are in Florida. But otherwise,
you don't think people would want to travel for like Petco or one of those other areas? You don't think
not in November and December? Absolutely not.
Not in November. Yeah, he's got a point. I don't think at that time of the year they're looking to travel at that time.
No, because think of what's going on.
I agree with you. You want to be in a cold weather city when let's say they play it in like Toronto, like with the dome, which is another option I've heard discussed, where they could maybe do it in a dome or somewhere where it's closed roof. But
Toronto's more feasible because
nobody's gonna want to come to Toronto. It's freezing there.
Right, but the thing, I understand what they're trying to say. I haven't heard that rumor yet. I haven't heard them like think of neutral sites for playoff games for teams who play in cold climates. But I don't think they're going to have a 162-game season. It's going to be some kind of modified.
They have a 162-game season. I will lose my mind. There is no reason ever they should be playing 162 games, whether there's a quarantine or not.
That's far-fetched at this point, I feel like.
Yeah.
Ever.
I don't think it's happening. I think it's going to be a 100 or less game season. And I think what they'll probably end up doing is cutting the All-Star game out of it or something like that because they're going to have no choice if they want to get all those games in. If you lose a week of the season right there, that's God knows how many games, right? Because every day there's some baseball game going on in the summertime, right? So, I mean, I think for them, they're going to have a modified season of some kind and the playoffs will be the same. But I don't know. I mean, that's a fascinating point. Will they cut out, the cold weather climates due to virus concerns?
I mean, it's not like the NFL where like 8 games, like home and away determine a lot. Like, what's the difference of 100 games and then opposed to 162? Like, it's not going to like deter your record. Like,
none. I completely agree. Yeah, it's not going to do anything to anyone's record. I mean, I think Hayden's point is interesting. I don't know if the MLB can actually go through with something like that because, I mean,
it's tough to like envision. I see what you're saying.
I think it's a modified season and they end on the same timeline. I don't.
What do you think about having maybe double headers like every couple of days?
I don't mind it.
Let's say they have double headers 2 times in a row. So you have 4 games in 2 days.
Not to that extent, but maybe twice a week.
Yeah, twice a week's more like reasonable.
I mean, if you want to do where you want to have, like 100 something games, let's say you have 100 games. What you could do is you could have the double headers being like clusters. So you could have like 4 games in 2 days. That's what you theoretically could do.
My only question about the 100-game season is what are you going to do about that divisional games and that all the teams that you were going to play in your division that you're not going to play? Like, it's going to be, like, interesting to
I think
You could have
I think they should reduce the travel. And I think there should be more divisional games because it'd make it more exciting, at least from a National League East standpoint. How many?
so
I mean,
you have
you
like
would-
50 divisional games. Like let's say you played like 50 divisional games and 50 out of division.
I'd be more jacked up to watch Mets Phillies than Mets Diamondbacks. That's for sure.
Yeah. 100%.
But actually, yeah. I think if you had it, what you're saying is true actually, because if you had 162 games, you're not going to have necessarily the importance of the division is not necessarily going to be as amplified. Where if you have 100, you could kind of split it up a little bit more evenly.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But like if you have I'm not going to say you can do this, but like let's say you had 50 games versus divisional opponents. Let's say you did that.
Mhm.
You had 50 games, and then you had 50 versus non-divisional opponents. It puts a lot more weight on the games you win in the division.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's what baseball needs. I mean, if you look at most other sports, right? I mean, like, I don't know to the extent of hockey, but like back when it wasn't like in this crazy divisional format, the Rangers and Devils and Rangers and Islanders used to play like six, 7 times a year. And like the magnitude of those games would be that much more meaningful, not only for the players, but the fans too. So I don't know. I think baseball should look into that.
No, definitely. I mean, but like that being said, I mean, it's logistically, it's going to be very tough. That's what I think is.
Like the people who make the schedule, you know how hard it's going to be for
Oh
them.
yeah, it's going to be a nightmare.
Like
It's
to
gonna
do all that stuff.
Of course. I think their best bet is divisional games have maybe make up half to 2/3 of the schedule. I think that's ideal.
that could work, but I don't know. I think I would be intrigued. Like, let's say if like I was going to, I think it would be intriguing if you had the neutral site playoff games. I think it would be very intriguing in like December, because nobody wants to go to a game in December where it's cold outside. I mean, nobody wants to do that. Even the November games, like honestly, if you're playing in October and it's 30 degrees out, and you're playing in Colorado like they did one World Series where the temperature's 25 degrees. Nobody wants. Baseball's not a sport that's played in the cold weather. It's not.
No, that wouldn't happen. Like,
Yeah, Hayden, the only way that would happen is if they had to play 162 games, which baseball, I think, has already scrapped that idea.
I know, but like I'm just giving you an example. Like in 2007, the World Series was played in Colorado.
Right.
They had home games, and it was like 20 degrees, and they're playing. It was just
I don't think baseball can do that to themselves.
no. The players are going to get like frostbite if that happens.
yeah,
Imagine playing in
it's gonna be
snow
it's gonna be
jackets,
insane.
winter jackets. That'd be crazy.
All right, so we're gonna end with our last topic of the show. So we're gonna talk about what do you think is gonna happen with the NHL? When do you think they're gonna resume, and what do you think are some of the options they can do there?
I don't know if they're coming back. I don't think they have enough time because if you think about it, they're in a weird situation. They're probably and feel free to chime in if you think there's another sport, but they're the only sport I know of that has a less than 10-week turnaround if you think about it, from the Stanley Cup Finals to training camp opening. Because the Stanley Cup will typically end anywhere from June, like
Yeah, they have about
to,
you're
like
right about that. They have about a 10-week training camp.
15th. And then training camps open late post Labor Day. So I don't think for them they're going to have a hard time trying to configure a schedule to get everything in. So, and they already allowed the players to go back to Europe, or the ones that are from there at least, and train there over the off season. So I don't know if they're gonna. I don't know what their plans are. I think they're gonna have a hard time because the NBA, what they're going to do is they're going to pretty much modify their schedule. This is their chance to, at least, to not compete with football and make every game, or make the regular season from like Christmas to the end of April, and then play in the late June. I've heard that rumor float around. The NHL can't do that. The NHL, if they lose their regular season, that's not good for them. That's not good business. So I think they need their 82-game regular season because people still turn out for that. People still like that, although it may not get a lot of attention. I don't know. That's my thought.
I mean, like, I'm not as into hockey as I am basketball and football, but I didn't think of like that perspective, that it's such a quick turnaround for them that like it could impact how they plan it out.
What you could do is you could push back next season to start a little bit later.
I don't think they want to do that.
I
I
don't
don't
think
think.
want to do that either. But that's what you could do because I know the turnaround between the training camp and the season ending is very quick.
Yeah. So and like they have like one of the quickest, if not the quickest, turnaround because I don't know if they could do that. I don't know if they could play into July, and then because they're essentially second class citizens to the NBA. I would imagine in terms of how much money they bring in for each building. So if you're the NHL, you're going to have a hard time making bookings at these venues when you're competing against the NBA and other events and situations like that. Even though you're a tenant in the building, I think they're going to have a hard time because I don't know if they want to play into July. I don't know if that's good for them. I don't know if that's – I personally, I'd love to see it, but I don't know.
No, I'm with you on that. I don't necessarily think the NHL is a sport that could be put into July. I don't. But, I mean, I'm just trying to think of what other options they have, and there's not too many other options. That's the
Not
problem.
many options at this point right now.
Right, because April's a crucial month for the NHL. That's when a lot of their playoffs – and not that May's not either, but I don't know if you could have a regular season and then have a playoffs. I don't know what they're going to do. I hope they come back, but because obviously their playoffs is great, but if you're the NHL, you got to figure it out and have – I'm sure they have some kind of contingency plan, but in my opinion, I don't know how they can come back.
Yeah.
All right.
It'll be interesting to see how if one of them comes back, NHL, NBA, or both, or like they extend like this. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do. I think both of them are gonna be interesting, and obviously the demand for both leagues is obviously high. Like everyone wants them to come back. I want them both to come back. Like I don't know. We'll see.
I think for hockey they need that because like in April, like they're actually on TV opposed to like they only show big games during like on an NBC during the year. But like NHL is not as publicized compared to like other sports on like ESPN.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, the NHL doesn't have a deal with the ESPN, and they lose a lot of market share because of that. And
Yeah.
I think that kind of pretty much puts a dagger in them.
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right, guys. So that's it for this week's show on 98.1 Settle the Score. We're going to be back We're going to be back next week at the same time. And we look forward to talking more about the sports and how exactly we're going to adapt to all the craziness that's been going on in the sports world. So I'm Hayden, it's Justin, and we look forward to hearing from you guys next week.